Okay, so what are the advantages towards, not just acting as individual countries, but forming this coalition of, 20 odd vaping organizations from around the world?
Right, Clive Bates dealt with this issue, and he set out three main reasons. And these were, and I'm just reading this, okay? Um, International decision making affecting vaping. Um, he pointed out, I'm not reading any longer, he pointed out that science is international. When a scientist publishes something in a paper, it goes international instantly.
Yes, it does.
And so we need to have international connections. We need to have an international web of communication. Okay.
Yes.
The other theme that he said is that all of the organizations all have common themes. Now there may be differences here and there, but there are common themes. So if we're all talking about the same things at the same time, that will have much more impact.
Yes.
And so it will be a unifying factor in that respect. Okay.
Yes.
Also, there are common themes with the regulations that are being put out. There are common themes between what's happening in TPD. There are common themes with what's happening in the US and Canada and
Yes.
Australia.
Yes.
But there are common themes where we can fight these together as a single unit. Okay? And we mentioned it before, solidarity against bullying.
Yes.
Okay? We can unify to stop the bullying tactics of tobacco control. At the meeting, I suggested that a fourth reason for having an international coalition would be the creation of education and
Yes.
educational materials for vaping members worldwide.
Yes.
And we'd be using the same educational materials.
Yeah.
And
To,
Clive Bates accepted.
okay. No, that is a wonderful idea, because if we keep projecting the same message out, and that way it doesn't look
Yeah.
like we're going against each other on the grains, that would be a wise perception to partake in. Okay. Was there anything else brought up at the coalition meeting?
Yes, there was
Okay.
a lady present, and I can't remember what her full credentials are, just offhand. Dr. Jean Cameron.
Okay.
Dr. Jean Cameron, I believe, has worked with tobacco companies, um, and she made the point that tobacco control, there is a legal base for them to accept harm reduction. In fact, it's stated in the principles, for the WHO FCTC, that they are there to promote harm reduction. It's there in black and white. They haven't done that.
So
In
they've
fact,
gone
tobacco
against their
control,
policy.
yeah, they've done the very opposite. And that links in with the fact that at the COP meetings, for example, everybody's locked out.
Much
The
like the WHO
only people that
meetings.
are allowed in, yeah, the only people that are allowed in are people who are going to agree with what's being said. It's
Much
theatre.
like the WHO meetings.
Yeah, it's theatre.
Yeah, that is the WHO meetings. COP6 is WHO meetings.
Yeah, I know they are the WHO. They're the countries of policy. That's what the acronym stands for, COP.
Yeah,
And they
about
do the tobacco control.
Another interesting point that was made was that there is no decisions made at the COP meetings. These decisions have all been agreed and rehearsed and agreed 6 months before the COP meeting. This is individual governments instruct their representatives at COP, and they tell these governments tell the people at COP what they want. And seemingly, I may be wrong here, but it only needs one government representative from somewhere to make a suggestion or move something, and if no one objects, it goes forward.
Okay.
So if he says you can only smoke cigarettes up your right-hand nostril, and no one objects, it becomes you can only smoke up your right-hand nostril. It's as simple as that.
In COP6, all the accredited media were thrown out after the first day.
They were thrown out. And interesting
Yes.
that the public doesn't know that this goes on. That, the media is not allowed to cover it. So what are you hiding? What are you hiding from the average person?
What was amazing was the fact the media didn't make a fuss about it getting thrown out. They didn't say anything to anybody about it.
Yes,
now,
but they should have. They should have.
Yeah, what's going on with the media?
What's going on with the media? Who is paying the media to shut up and be quiet?
Yeah, and just accept it.
And what is the public missing that the public should know about, should be aware of? Because, essentially these are people's lives. This is someone's brother. This is someone's grandfather. This is someone's grandmother. Oh, and I've got a snoring dog in the background. I don't even know if you can even hear him.
What really got me was here we were talking about millions of people dying from cancer.
Yes.
Margaret Chan wasn't even at the meeting to start with.
Interesting.
She didn't go. Yeah, she was busy elsewhere.
No.
Oh.
She went to COP6.
Ah.
And that was more important than the trifling Ebola thing in Africa.
Oh.
Who cares? A few Africans get.
So she was more interested in tobacco control than she was Ebola.
That's what it was.
Yes, that's it.
Plus the fact, no, she wasn't. She was more interested in having tea with the Russian president
than she was in Ebola.
She was I can assure you the press were involved in that.
And wouldn't the press really like to know that was more important than Ebola?
Yeah.
And to attend a meeting on that, on World Health and Ebola. Lovely. Just, and my British is going to come out. Flippin' bloody well lovely. Okay, Robert, I know when you were in Warsaw, and although there was numerous topics going on with various things, and a lot of them are in general posted after the GFN on the GFN's website. They usually post videos and slideshows and that sort of thing. You've met a lot of people that you were quite thrilled to have met. Can you tell me?
Oh, yes.
And I know I saw some of her brochures being tweeted on Twitter just a few hours ago, and she was talking about the harm reduction. And this would be Chris Ford, Dr. Chris Ford.
Dr. Chris Ford, that's correct.
And one of her presentations, and it was nice because it didn't so much, I know a lot of brochures focus on things like condoms as harm reduction, but she had another little one in there that I thought was just wonderful. She had helmets and life jackets as being harm reducers. So these are people who boat for pleasure, who ride their bicycle for pleasure, exercise, that sort of thing. And we wear these devices for harm reduction. So can you tell me your thoughts on Chris Price? Sorry, not Chris Price, Chris Ford.
Right. I think I made pals with Dr. Chris Ford at the meeting. She was
Yeah,
at
she
the
sure.
coalition meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was struck by her openness and her naturalness, and the fact that she could speak to people on a normal level, for
Okay.
want of a better
So
explanation.
she didn't speak to
She
them
was
doctor to patient
not,
type.
no, not condescending either, just plain. And her main theme, and it's something I agree with, her main theme was that harm reduction in drugs, heroin, whatever it is identical to the struggle we are facing trying to encourage harm reduction for
Yes.
tobacco.
Yes.
These elements are the same. The drug users are slandered, are criticized, are demeaned. They have their humanity stripped off them by those
Well,
in
we,
society
we had
around
the
about.
same thing done to us as smokers, and now they're trying to do the same thing to us again as vapors.
So Chris Ford is the director of an organisation, a coalition of doctors, and I think there's over 1,000 doctors are members of this group.
Is that
And
MOVE?
no,
Separate.
I can tell you
It's
now,
different from MOVE.
it's International Doctors for Healthier Drug Policies, and she's
Okay.
the clinical director.
Okay.
Okay? It is my contention, and I think I'm going to try and push for this, that we should be aligning ourselves with these people. They are identical arguments for the same reasons, and the poorer sections of society
So
is
pull bits
worldwide,
of what they use and use it for our cause,
and vice versa.
and vice versa.
We help each other.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. Totally agree. She presented it very brilliantly. And once the video is out, you gotta see it. You remember Attila Danko from Australia last year? His speech on GFN 15? It
No,
was
sorry, I don't
remarkable.
recall that one.
He got a standing ovation at the end.
You gotta see it. And
It was inspiring.
Okay.
Chris Ford was equally inspiring.
Oh yeah.
Very inspiring.
Okay, good. Yeah, I quite liked how she included, a few other different ones in there, like the life jackets and the helmets, because
Yeah,
the everyday citizen can clue into that. Yes, that is harm reduction. Those are people pursuing things they like to do.
She also emphasized and restated one of the themes of GFN that came out. It's not, I don't think it was one of the aims to start with, but it certainly ended up as one, and that is vaping, or rather, stopping smoking, is fun. It's great fun.
It is great
fun.
And you look, even in terms of the social media, and I know you often see those memes, the pictures with the words.
Yeah.
And it would say, the one would say, "Oh, you vape too. Did we suddenly become best friends?" And that was with Will Live guy. And it is very much like that. The immense and at times even humbling the support we offer each other.
I think we should put the message out. Have you tried to stop smoking and failed? Well, don't try to stop. Switch. And have fun doing it. And enjoy yourself.
And have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you get involved with the community, the support,
which is almost
the support is almost overwhelming. The amount of support and just
And 5 new friends all over the world.
yeah, and then you suddenly have, like you say, all of these friends from all over the world that are all encouraging each other, supporting each other, and you know, at times I've found myself very humbled by what they do for each other. You know, I know for myself there was one lady, and she refers to me as Mama, and she lost her husband to cancer, unfortunately, and she was at the hospital visiting her husband at the time, and someone broke in and stole her vape gear. And I got on the Facebook and went on to Wendy Farrell, and I had another friend of mine ask as well, what can we do? Wendy, can you set her up with something? Can you send her out something? And even though she knew it was Mama that was behind it, you know, that's the type of thing we just did. You know, this was a woman who was going through an emotionally rough time, and you know, to have someone break into her car and steal her vape gear, you darn right, as a vape family, we're going to move mountains to get her vape gear back, so that she will not have a cigarette.
That's right. It's for that reason we don't want you smoking again.
We don't want you smoking again. Yeah. Yeah, and it
but
is.
We're not telling people to quit. You know,
no, we're telling people to switch to something that is a lot more fun. You know, and then you start factoring in all, you know, all your toys, and that's what people refer to them as their toys. You know,
well, let's see the opponents of e-cigarettes. Let's see them criticize that message. Let's let them come out and say, "Oh, you can't do that.
You're not allowed to have fun.
You can't enjoy it." No, that's wrong. That'd be wrong to enjoy vaping. How are they going to do that? How are they going to tell people that they should be miserable, they should be suffering, they should be guilty, and it shouldn't happen? Okay? That's wrong.
Got one of the mini volts? The mini, he looks like he's got one of the mini volts. He's got his fistful. It's fun. It's fun. It's a collector hobby. You know, you have guys and ladies who collect antique cars. And that's their fun.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a hobby.
It's a hobby.
It's enjoyable.
And it's an enjoyable way of getting away from combustible cigarettes, which harm people.
Yeah, cigarettes are massively, massively, massively more harm. That was a theme that kept coming out.
Yes.
There were less and less people saying 95% less dangerous than cigarettes, or only 5% of the harm.
Massively less harmful.
Yeah, one or two mentioned it. It's becoming clearer as the days go on that they are massively safer than just 95%. Yes. And I've got a funny feeling that we're going to get into figures, and you shouldn't put figures on it because they are only estimates. But I would say that the estimates are going to 95% safer, 96% safer, 97% safer, 98% safer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it reached 99% safer.
Well, as technology advances and as the consumer puts the demand onto the manufacturers of these devices, you know, because now they've brought out temperature control and temperature control, and there are different methods of avoiding the coil from becoming too hot.
And the best method for avoiding the coils becoming too hot is your taste buds.
Yes.
Because you will not vape. You will not vape a dangerous mix.
No, you do not want a dry hit.
Charcoal toast. No. That's actually one of the themes. That was another one of the themes, Ivana, that came out during the conference. apart from the fun side of it, and I forgot what I was going to say now. And that was the safety aspect.
The safety
It was
aspect.
Ricardo Pelosa, I think.
Oh yes, yes, yes. He was one
wasn't
of the
the only
last
one.
speakers.
Yeah. And before him, the speaker who pointed out Dr. Farsalinas it started with, and Dr. Farsalinas pointed out and showed how the formaldehyde study had been conducted by scientists who didn't know what they were doing.
Yes.
And this is why they were getting the results they were getting. The next speaker to talk about that, I can't remember his name, the next speaker pointed out that, yes, this is happening over and over. They've got people, scientists, who might know one aspect of vaping, but are ignorant of other aspects. Either they know about the electronics or the coils or whatever, or
Yes.
they may know about the juice. You know, they
Yes.
don't know everything. And they are making basic mistakes. But they're going into their research with a pre-conditioned attitude. You know, that there must be harm in these things. You know, so they go to find harm in these things. And of course, their experiments are so badly skewed that they're finding harm. And then along come the vaping community, and Dr. Farsalinos actually conducted an identical experiment with the formaldehyde,
Yes.
and demonstrated that if a vapor is vaping and he starts to hit the area where formaldehyde is going to get formed at a dangerous level, right?
Long before dangerous levels would be created. The awful taste of dry burn was so intense that the vapors stopped immediately, long before they reached the regions where the experiment found those formaldehyde. And Farsalinos went to quite a stretch to procure some old CE4s to replicate the experiment exactly. Exactly the same devices that were used in the experiment.
Yes.
The same batteries, the same cartomizers, the same liquids.
Okay.
In the same way, you can't drive a Model T Ford round Le Mans for 24 hours.
No.
Something will go wrong.
No.
You know.
No, and it was like the burnt toast analogy.
Yeah.
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 If you take the toast and you burn it, and where blue flames are coming off of it and blue smoke, are you going to eat
and not
it?
Just a small scale.
And are you going to eat it and enjoy it? No.
Yeah. Burn straight through. Not so you can scrape the burnt bit off.
Okay.
You know, right through. That's what they did with e-cigarettes. That's the equivalent.
And that does not replicate everyday use by the everyday vapor.
I'll stick my neck out here, but I would claim there is not a single study ever which demonstrates harm in e-cigarettes.
Yeah.
With all of them, either the way they summarize it, the conclusions that they draw from it are wrong, and the study doesn't support these conclusions, or the study itself is badly flawed. But these are the studies getting all the publicity. These are the studies that tobacco control and their satellite organizations
like the Galant's misconception ones.
Yeah, and it's just absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
Now, they did something similar with second-hand smoke. They exaggerated it way out of proportion, and they told lies to do this. Okay, but the smoking population had been so conditioned in those days that smoking was wrong, smoking is bad, smoking is evil, smoking is dirty. And smokers were taken in the same as the general public, and they thought, oh, I can't harm my wife and my children. Oh dear, I can't be doing that.
But there's a huge difference, besides the abrupt try at vaping that was too abrupt. Back then, you couldn't just look up the studies. It was really a hassle to try and find the documentation at all. You have to go to a university and request a special copy and blah blah blah. It wasn't easy. It took a long
No.
time, and you couldn't verify the sources easily. You had to request them. So that was the big problem back then. You couldn't verify it as a normal citizen. Now
Yes.
we have the internet, we have the sources, we can check it out and
And
debunk it.
education is meant to be available at no cost to the general public.
Yeah.
You know,
That was
as the age-old saying goes, to educate a child, interest is half the battle. If you have someone's interest, they will go searching. They will go looking.
Yeah.